Everybody, it's Mystic Raven on ESO Daily, and by the title, I am officially going to be going into the PTS tomorrow. To be honest, I kind of wanted to avoid the PTS for reasons being that I don't know what the NDA is, so I'm going to try to go ahead and figure out what I'm going to be able to cover and what I'm not going to be able to cover by the NDA rules. No, I don't want to trade. So I'm going to find out because I don't want to break any NDA. Don't want to give out. I know I can't cover anything with the Warden, so please don't ask. But what I'm hoping to do, we're going to go over the champion system. I'm going to try to figure out the diminishing rate on each tree as much as possible. And you got to kind of understand what the diminishing rates are. I used to, in my real life, I worked in financing and bank related and insurance. So there were different calculations depending on products for diminishing rates. And it's kind of similar. But trying to figure out the diminishing rate is a lot more complicated than giving you an actual specific number of diminishing point value, because it fluctuates for every point you increase depending on each tree in this game. So I will try to break down the diminishing rate as accurately as possible. I am a little rusty with that type of calculations, but I can pretty much break it down and kind of give you a general idea of how you're going to take a look at your diminishing rate depending on each of your builds. One of the bigger things that I want to actually be covering is Battlegrounds. I'm going to email Zoss tonight. I'm hoping I'll get a response back, and hopefully they can give me a thumbs up on covering Battlegrounds. I would really like to test it. I would really like to check out some of the new armor sets. And speaking of the new armor sets, typically this will be my first time on the PTS doing any type of coverage. But typically I really liked Cypher's input when he did the coffer opens. That's one thing I always liked. Months ago, the one thing I really would go to Cypher for was just to check out the coffer opens and get his insight on at least what most people are going to be running and how potentially these could affect different builds. Unfortunately, he's not available. I hope he shows up. So Cypher, if you watch this, I really hope you show up just to give players input, at least with coffer opens, and that it's something I really appreciated that you did. So I'm really hoping, he shows up for this. I don't want to take anything that players typically do, but I'll go ahead and if hopefully check out some of the gear, give you guys some input. I think that one will be an okay thing to do. And I'm sorry about my dog barking in the background. 1 second. Yeah, I have a dog, by the way. So anyways, so I'm on the PS4 at the moment. The reason I'm just on here because I'm downloading the PTS. So once that's been updated and implemented, I'm going to go ahead, check it out. I will try to get a hold of ZeniMax, find out what I'll be able to cover without getting into any kind of altercations, because I do not want to get in any trouble. On a flip side, the diminishing returns. There are certain YouTubers that are starting to cover diminishing rates, and they're like, oh, it's more front loaded. It always has been. It always has been. Always. So just saying. Do not get fooled into these people, because the supposed experts that ignored it were pretty, they were blaming the developers, I think this is what they were trying to do. No, they did it. They did implement diminishing return. Diminishing returns have been in this game since conception, guys. You don't just see diminishing returns in your CP. You have diminishing returns on traits, passives, and crit values. There are a lot of different elements in which diminishing returns play effect in this game. All right, so that's relative. I've told my viewers for months now how, why we go over certain numbers, why we go over certain traits, and how each trait can fluctuate depending on each class. So, one of the things that, for example, sorcerers. Typically, I run 3 big infused, the rest divine, except sorcerers, I will run 2 infused, another divine. Why? Because if I'm running the Thief Mundus, I want to capitalize a little bit more with the sorcerer because they have a lower encrypt percentage. That's a prime example of how you see the diminishing return on the sorcerer passives in class. So, but does that rule apply to every other class? No, exactly, it does not. So that's one thing you have to take in effect, because also sorcerer's passives to increase crit damage applies to the party when dark magic spells are casted. So once again, every class plays a little different. You have to understand that the diminishing rates and values and returns will affect each of your builds. So once again, you can break everything down in each build just on those facts alone. But I try to simplify it for people. I don't want to go ahead and get too complicated. So the best, and I'm not the only person that's been doing this. The forum, YouTubers have skipped all of this. A lot of YouTubers, not all of them, but a majority of them. But the funny thing is, every time you go into the forums, there's always been old school MMOers that would talk about the diminishing return. They're old school, they run the numbers, they make the calculations, and it's been there since the initial conception. So, and I always tell people, if you have a question about the diminishing returns, post on the forums. Now, a lot of times you're going to get other players who are just kind of, not aware as much either, but I can guarantee you there's an old school gamer there that will break down the diminishing effects for you guys, and we'll go over in detail. So if there's something I'm missing, and I don't want to mislead people once again with any type of absolutes, but there are people in the forums and you can get a second opinion. And a second or third opinion sometimes is kind of where you want to go, just to kind of make an absolute sure of what you're doing in your builds. Once again, guys, I'm really looking forward to going to the PTS. I'm really looking forward to seeing I'm sorry, I can't see your comment because you had to block my speak. But please leave a message after this, go after my live feed. And this way, if there's a question or comment, I can, get into it. But once again, guys, I just want to go ahead. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really happy that ZeniMax is taking, a more drastic approach to this. And it's not going to be that drastic. It really isn't, but it makes it relative. It makes it more significant that you cannot afford to ignore these principles. And I'm really hoping ZeniMax, will respond back, and I'm looking forward to seeing what I can cover on the PTS. And once again, guys, I do want to thank you all my subscribers. You're much appreciated. I do want to thank every one of you guys. You guys teach me as much as I teach you. There are certain things that, I get corrected on, and I appreciate it every day. It's a learning experience for everybody, and that's what we should be trying to work towards in a community. I know I can be a little pretentious at times, but I don't try to be, so I do want to apologize if I seem a little pretentious. But once again, I want to thank every one of you, and have a nice day.